2022 has a huge slate of Xbox One and Xbox Series games coming out. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on gameranx, the 30 best Xbox games of 2022. Starting off with number 30, it's Lord of the Rings Gollum. This game is a narrative-driven action-adventure game that I think has a lot of potential for interesting gameplay. Now, obviously Gollum is not any kind of brute strength action hero or anything, so I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of stealth gameplay and a lot of puzzle-oriented solutions to taking out bad guys, especially based on the trailer. Now, we don't have a release date for this, but it is coming sometime this year, and it's something that I think looks pretty interesting. At number 29 is Dragon Ball The Breakers, a 1-on-7 asymmetrical action game that I think actually has the potential to be a better version of that kind of game. See, you are one of 7 normal human beings taking on a powerful Dragon Ball character. I've seen more than one person call it Dead by Daylight, but anime, and I'm more than comfortable calling it that and saying it's something that I think is worth at least a try. I think it looks really cool, and I think that it's the kind of thing that genre is made for. Dragon Ball The Breakers does not have a release date. We will keep you updated on that, however. At number 28 is Dying Light 2 Stay Human, a sequel that really does a good job building on the base of the original, in particular the parkour system, which is just second to absolutely no other game. It takes everything that we loved about Mirror's Edge and magnifies it so much, adds a paraglider, and makes us fight zombies. Now, the zombie stuff has also been enhanced in this game, in my opinion. It's a little controversial because they made them a little bit easier to deal with in certain respects, but in my opinion, they've really done a lot to incentivize the parkour, and everything works out really well. I enjoy the hell out of this sequel. It came out back in February, and it's one that I keep coming back to. At number 27 is Martha is Dead, a first-person psychological thriller that does a lot of interesting stuff. For one, it's fully in Italian. This is a choice that I think works out really well because it sets the atmosphere, which is in 1944 Italy, while there's a conflict that, I don't know, maybe you've heard of, between the Germans and the Allied forces. You're the twin sister of a dead woman that's found, and your job is to figure out what's going on there. This is another one that came out back in February. It's obviously nothing like the previous game we talked about, but it is a great game. And it's only $30, and I'd say it's definitely worth that. At number 26 is Marvel's Midnight Suns. Now, this is a game I've been waiting for a while. As soon as I found out they were doing this, I became very excited about it. It is the developers of XCOM making an XCOM-like game, a tactical RPG, set in kind of a dark Marvel universe where we've got Wolverine, Iron Man, Blade, and a few others. Basically, this is a genre that is perfect for having a bunch of mutants and superheroes with different powers. Whoever at Firaxis Games or whoever said to Firaxis Games, this is a good idea, we should pursue this, genius. I cannot wait to play this game. I think it's such a good idea. It's coming sometime in the second half of 2022. At number 25 is Little Devil Inside, this little side-scroller action-adventure game that we've been hearing about for years now. It's got such a unique art style, and developers have told us interesting things about it through the years. For instance, that it's a survival game, but that those elements are more there not to provide a challenge, but as atmosphere, which, speaking of, there's tons of atmosphere. I'm excited to play this because it's basically monster hunting in a 19th century steampunk light world, and it just looks great. I hope that it lives up to what it looks like, because honestly, after this many years, it would kind of be heartbreaking for it not to. Little Devil Inside doesn't have a release date yet, but as soon as we have one, we will let you know. At number 24 is Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin, which is a retelling of the very first Final Fantasy game. I did review this game, and I was a little harsh. I don't want to say that this is a definite great game or anything. It does have, in terms of gameplay, some very enjoyable systems, but as a whole, it kind of doesn't come together. That said, a Final Fantasy fan will likely find some enjoyment out of it, whether it's completely non-ironic enjoyment, I don't know, but Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin is out. And number 23 is Sniper Elite 5, the latest in, frankly, a great series of tactical shooters that have an emphasis on sniping and therefore obviously a different set of combat skills than the type of shooting one might be used to. And as such, it's been a great series. It's gotten progressively better too, incorporating different stealth elements that I think provides more than enough reason to keep coming back. I'm excited for Sniper Elite 5. I'll definitely be playing it. It's landing on May 26th. And number 22 is WWE 2K22. Let's just get this out of the way. 2K20 sucked. 2K20 was so bad that 21 got canceled. There were so many bugs at launch, so many technical issues that frankly put the series in jeopardy. I think it was really good that they decided to take a year off and just make sure that this one doesn't suck. 2K22 landed without the bugs, with massively improved in-ring action and a number of other aspects that I would say are a step up from the previous good game in the series, 2K19. Not everything is perfect. There are still AI issues, but that's kind of been something that's been present in the entire series. But 2K22 is out, and it's so much better than 2K20. I kind of hope that they continue with the every other year release schedule, because I think that given the unmitigated disaster of 2K20, having the slower process was a huge benefit here. And number 21 is ExoMecha, which was announced as a free-to-play, competitive first-person shooter that got delayed indefinitely last year, and the developers have come out and said they've absolutely been able to use the extra time. They haven't given us a release date yet, but it seems like they're getting close. It's a good-looking game. It's something that I think is a cool-looking project. Basically a first-person mech shooting game. The last time they mentioned a release date, it was the first quarter of 2022. I think we might see it at the end of 2022. ExoMecha looks really cool. I hope we see it soon. And number 20 is Avowed, a first-person fantasy RPG coming to us from Obsidian Entertainment. Now, you'll remember that Obsidian has worked on Bethesda games in the past, giving us what many consider to be the best Fallout game. Obsidian is saying that Avowed is kind of like if you combine the Outer Worlds and Skyrim. I love what that sounds like, because they have done Fallout, in my opinion, better than Bethesda did with Fallout 4 in terms of the Outer Worlds, albeit on a smaller scale. If that's what they're doing here with Skyrim, I'm super excited, because not only are they giving us that style of gameplay, but it's also set in the Pillars of Eternity universe, and there's pretty much no element of this that I am not excited for. Avowed is coming sometime in 2022. I can't wait to play it. It looks phenomenal. Lately, it really just seems like Obsidian's job is to out Bethesda, but Microsoft owns both of them now, so whatever. And number 19 is Scorn, a game that I've repeatedly said looks like if a 1990s Tool album cover became a video game. And I stand by that, but it has developed a little bit in aesthetic. It's a little slimier now, but it's still you in this big, living, techno-organic structure where you're exploring in a totally non-linear mystery narrative where you find out what's going on. And it looks super interesting. It's always looked super interesting, and I can't wait to play it. It's been a long time coming. We've known about this game since 2013, and we're finally going to be playing Scorn in October of 2022. At number 18 is S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 Heart of Chernobyl. This one has been a very long time coming. We've been waiting for S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2 since way back when it was announced in 2010. It was the sequel, of course, to the massively popular S.T.A.L.K.E.R game, as well as S.T.A.L.K.E.R Call of Pripyat. The original go-around ended up getting canceled due to issues at the studio, but even this time around they faced some adversity. GSC Game World is from Ukraine, and to be frank, there's stuff going on there right now that has caused a bit of a delay. We don't know exactly when to expect the game, but they have been still pushing a 2022 release. That's exciting. Obviously, if the game doesn't come out this year, we all know why, but we're really excited for it. And number 17 is Crimson Desert, an open-world action-adventure RPG coming to us from Pearl Abyss, the developers of Black Desert Online. Now, Crimson Desert was actually going to be a prequel to Black Desert Online, but it turned into something bigger and different in the form of a single-player game. It is still set in the same universe, which is cool, but we have a specific main character with a backstory, and frankly, I think that it's great we're going to see a single-player game in the same universe as Black Desert Online. I'm excited for it. Crimson Desert's landing sometime this year. At number 16 is Sonic Frontiers. What looks to be kind of Sonic combined with Breath of the Wild. A lot of people have made this observation that the first open world Sonic game looks like it has an open world, not unlike Breath of the Wild in structure. This is exciting because obviously, however, Sonic traverses this open world is going to be significantly removed from Breath of the Wild, but those design principles work really well. Sonic Team is looking to create a template for all of their future Sonic games here, and I think they kind of have something to prove. It feels like they're really going for it with this, at least in terms of what we've seen so far, and I'm really excited to play Sonic Frontiers when it lands this year. At number 15 is Evil West. Evil West is basically taking the Western aesthetic, making it essentially a gory myth, legend, zombie type thing. Essentially, you're a cowboy battling a vampire threat. It's an action game. Seeing some of the footage, you might be tempted to think it's an action RPG or a Souls-like, but it looks more like they're gearing this towards an actual just straightforward action game that includes two-player co-op as you fight your way through a narrative-driven campaign. Evil West is coming sometime this year. It looks like it's going to be a unique one. At number 14 is Warhammer 40k Darktide, which is the 40k version of Vermintide. Although they're not going to be following the strictly melee-focused elements on account you are in a different era, it does look like the general intent is to make a Vermintide-like in the 40k universe. If you're not familiar with Vermintide, it's a 4-player co-op game where you fight off waves of enemies in the Warhammer universe. It's pretty melee-focused because it's set in the straightforward Warhammer era, and the promise of Darktide is that rather than being very melee focused, it's kind of going to be a 50-50 split between melee and range combat. Personally, I think that's a great idea. I like Warhammer 40k. I really like Vermintide, particularly its sequel, and we'll certainly be looking forward to Darktide's release sometime this year. And number 13 is Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown. Actually, the third in the Unlimited series of Test Drive. This is the third of the open world games, with the previous of the Unlimited series, Test Drive Unlimited 2, being released way back in 2011. Now, that's actually fairly early for an open world racing game, especially in terms of ones that were good, but this was one of the first ones that did it at least close to right, and knowing that establishes some pretty big expectations for Unlimited Solar Crown. A big feature of this one is a full one-to-one recreation of Hong Kong Island, which is not something you typically see, full-on one-to-one recreations of real-world locations in these games, and that's exciting because that means they're setting their own expectation for a certain level of detail. Test Drive Unlimited Solar Crown is coming September 22nd, and it's going to be interesting to see exactly how this one pans out. And number 12 is Evil Dead the Game, a kind of Friday the 13th, Dead by Daylight type game happening in the Evil Dead universe, which gives you both cooperative gameplay and player versus player. There is going to be a single player mode and skill tree mechanics, so it does go perhaps a little bit beyond the typical entry to this type of genre, but we've also seen and heard not enough to make a final judgment. Like when they first announced this, it originally looked a lot like it was going to be a Left 4 Dead type game, but it's either changed or they didn't really say enough to us for us not to assume that. Either way, Evil Dead the Game is landing on May 13th. And number 11 is Saints Row, a reboot of the Saints Row series, which has been mostly dormant for a while, other than Agents of Mayhem, if you count that. This franchise has seen a little bit of a weird ownership journey, so to speak, and I think that that's probably been what's prevented us from seeing a new Saints Row in quite a while. It's actually great. Both Saints Row and Red Faction are now owned by the same company, so they have their shared universe ultimately again, and that comes at the same time we're going to see a new Saints Row. If by some bizarre reason you aren't familiar with Saints Row, think Grand Theft Auto turned up to 11 with a lot more bizarre, raunchy humor. I'm really excited for a new Saints Row game. It's been too long, and this one is coming on August 26th. At number 10 is The King of Fighters 15. This is one I have to go ahead and say, being it's already out and we've had some time with it, is just a pretty darn good fighting game. It looks great, it's got a great roster, but most importantly, this is the King of Fighters that this series has gradually built over quite a few years. This is not exactly the same as where the series started, but if you like King of Fighters, this is a fantastic iteration of it. We could easily talk about this one for quite a while, but I'm just going to say this is a really tight fighting game, and you'll enjoy it if you're a fan of the series. And number 9 is Redfall, the next game coming from Arcane Studios, an action-adventure in which you will be fighting a vampire invasion in an open world. Obviously, Arcane is a fantastic developer, and I think the fact that they're making both a single and multiplayer game of this nature, which in some ways looks like a Vampire Left 4 Dead, but in others looks very much like an Arcane game. I mean, this is an exciting development. It's landing sometime during the summer, and as far as I'm concerned, Arcane has yet to actually let us down. And number 8 is Kerbal Space Program 2, which comes to us from a new developer. We've been over this a few times, but the developer is different, and yet it seems like they're doing everything they possibly can to deliver not only a faithful sequel, but one that builds on the original concepts in meaningful ways. Some of the additions that we're particularly looking forward to are the multiplayer mode. I think that's an obvious one, but there's also new propulsion methods and different modes of building colonies, including orbital and planetary ones. We don't have a date, but Kerbal Space Program is coming in 2022. And number 7 is Tiny Tina's Wonderlands, which is a fantasy outreach of the Borderlands series. It obviously retains the same art style, the same style of humor, but we have a whole new cast of famous, funny people, and a whole new type of arsenal to deal with. The story is obviously going to be satirical, bizarre, silly, and I'm really excited for it. It looks like something that's going to be great for fans of Borderlands, of which I am one. And number 6 is Gotham Knights, an action RPG that looks to be of the same vein as the Arkham games, except for is not actually sharing a universe with it. It does, however, take place after Batman's death and actually concerns Batman's various cohorts investigating his death. Now, I'm willing to bet he's not dead. I don't think that is going to be a surprise reveal at any point. Maybe a reveal, maybe an attempt at a surprise, but a surprise, I don't think so. And also, I might be wrong, who knows? I'm excited for more of that style of gameplay though, and I'll be playing when Gotham Knights lands on October 25th. And number 5 is LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga. If you're familiar with the LEGO Star Wars games, you know exactly what this is. If not, they're action-adventure games where you play through the Star Wars story from a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different characters. They have good combat, fun lightsaber action, and generally a healthy dose of humor. I hope that humor is turned towards ribbing the 9th Star Wars movie because, in my opinion, this game is worth it for the first 8. The last movie's a joke. LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is landing on April 5th. And number 4 is Hogwarts Legacy, an open-world action RPG set in the 1800s, so more along the lines of the recent series of movies than the original series. This game comes to us from Avalanche Software, who were known for some pretty interesting games back in the day, but have most recently been Disney Infinity's developers. Hogwarts Legacy is coming late 2022. And number 3 is Atomic Heart, a game that we've kind of been looking at as a Soviet Bioshock. It's a game with some incredible graphics set in an alternate 1955 with serious advances in robotics and neurotechnology. Atomic Heart has been long in development and one that we've seen that the developer has experienced at least some adversity. I think that it still looks like a great game, and when they finally released the gameplay of it in recent years, it's been one that I've been aching to play since. That's coming out in the second half of 2022, and it looks great. And number 2 is Starfield, or Skyrim in space. I don't know if that's exactly what we're going to be seeing with this, but it is the first new intellectual property from Bethesda in 25 years, and this is one that they've been talking about since well before Skyrim. They had the rights to Star Trek in the mid-2000s and were trying to develop a game along the lines of Skyrim at that time, but obviously things went a different direction, and we have something that actually looks pretty interesting. Starfield is coming November 11th, the 11-year anniversary of Skyrim's release. And finally, at number 1, Elden Ring. How can we not talk about Elden Ring when we're talking about big game releases through the year? This is a big jump forward for the Souls series, and in many ways has been compared to a Breath of the Wild type advancement of the open world genre. I think it's probably going to be a Game of the Year nominee, and I think its big competition might just be Breath of the Wild 2. We've talked a lot about this game since its release. It's highly recommended. It's a very good game. Elden Ring is definitely worth your time. Couple of bonus games for you. Infernax, an old school adventure platformer, and when I say old school, I mean old school. It looks like a Nintendo game, but there's a lot more to it than that. That came out back in February. Definitely give it a shot. Destiny 2: The Witch Queen, which continues the ever-evolving Destiny 2 narrative, and Dawn of the Monsters, a very recent release. Basically a couch co-op beat 'em up where you fight as various kaiju. It's a game with very fun combat and really good art. It's a little buggy, but I would suggest it's worth it, and they will probably do work on it over the next few months. That's all for today. Leave us a comment. Let us know what you think. If you like this video, click like. If you're not subscribed, now's a great time to do so. We upload brand new videos every day of the week. The best way to see them first is, of course, a subscription, so click subscribe. Don't forget to enable all notifications, and as always, we thank you very much for watching this video. I'm Falcon. You can follow me on Twitter at Falcon the Hero. We'll see you next time right here on gameranx.